You could be 85 and sharp as a tack. You can be 55 and have a problem. I don't care what the number is. I care about, the way that you present yourself and your ability and whether you're impaired or not.
All right, so President Obama's former White House physician even saying Biden should have had multiple cognitive tests as president. Dr. Mark Siegel's here, Fox News senior medical analyst. Obviously, Jeff Van Drew making the case that at any age we should know if somebody is physically and mentally sound. These are the words of former Obama Dr. Jeffrey Coleman on Biden's 2024 report. And welcome to you, Dr. Siegel. This is Saturday in the Washington Post. It shouldn't be just health. It should be fitness, according to Coleman. Fitness is, do you have that robust mind, body, spirit that you can do this physically, mentally, emotionally demanding job? That is the President of the United States of America. Dr. Siegel, please do weigh in.
I have been talking about that issue of fitness for office since all the way back in 2015, and I agree with that. I think that there are two issues here: physical and mental health, cognitive health, and then fitness for office. But I would say, though, that a cognitive test like the Montreal Cognitive Assessment Test is just tip of the iceberg stuff. That's a given that should be done. President Trump's had that multiple times. But beyond that, there are other questions. There was a neurologist, Kevin Kennard, that kept coming to the White House as part of the yearly physical. And Kevin O'Connor, the president's doctor, kept saying, extensive neurological exam is normal. The gait, his problem with walking was due to orthopedic problems. He doesn't have any neurological issues. He was saying that over and over by virtue of what a neurologist was supposedly reporting. But I kept saying, Sandra, where's the MRI scan? Never showed an MRI scan, and again, no cognitive assessments. And things were going on that were being called gaffes, which were really periods of disorientation. You remember, really sadly, when he stumbled off the stage with the Brazilian president, didn't shake his hand, bang into the flag. I mean, things on and on, not remembering when his son had died. So tragic. And it really raised eyebrows that were never addressed. And now it's looking more and more like a cover-up.
Well, I'm curious from your standpoint, should there be accountability for the Biden's White House physician, Kevin O'Connor, to whom you just referenced? This is a man who says that he knows, he's been in charge of Biden's health and overseeing his health and medical records dating back to 2009. We've seen the quotes from him dating back years that say he knows the president better than anyone. So if anybody knew this was going on, surely that physician did.
He's being subpoenaed, which I think is correct. And I want to also point out that President Biden had atrial fibrillation and irregular heartbeat that can lead to cognitive problems. He had a surgery done in 1988 on his brain that can lead to cognitive problems. There was a lot of question marks there. Kevin O'Connor never addressed. Now we're finding out he has advanced prostate cancer and no evidence of having been screened for that. I think Dr. O'Connor has a lot to answer to here. And again, there's the issue of fitness for office, public transparency, what you knew when you knew it, and the president's overall health, as you just said, which he's responsible for.
Yeah, and I want to finish with this because I want to ask you about that broader question of the transparency from the White House, whoever is president, and how much medical information should the American public be privy to. This was that former Obama doctor, a flashback to July 2024, saying many Americans may want the White House medical team to take a more active role in declaring the president fit for duty. Many would probably like to see the same standard applied to candidates running for president as well. For those things to happen, these medical teams will need access to more data about these individuals than they now collect. And perhaps even more important, we should seriously consider the need for an age limit for those running for president. I want to ask you to weigh in on any of that you choose, but also, do you believe there's a position for the White House physician to not only release reports, but to answer questions to the media during a president's term in office?
Yeah, and you remember Sean Connolly with President Trump's first term being grilled for an hour and a half one time. And, I don't think there should be an age limit, but I want to point out that we have a sordid history in this country about hiding presidential health issues going all the way back to Woodrow Wilson, Eisenhower. We didn't know how much blood President Reagan lost. We're in a different era now. I think full transparency and press conferences is the way to go here regarding presidential health. Absolutely.
Interesting to get your take on all of that. Dr. Siegel, good to see you. Thank you so much.
Great to see you, Sandra.
All right.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.